We'll be back from the break, and Business Today continues with the coffee cut. Well, the fate of the border industry, or the border sector, is still unpredictable in the city, with Kampala City Council Authority planning to regulate the border business. Well, most people do predict it that by the time the regulations are clean and touched, KCCA will have got only 7,000 borders allowed to operate in the Kampala Central Business District. This has left many questions, however, to whether this will be a success or not. The Coffee Cut discussions this night is with Rona Nahawe, discussing more of the fate of the border cyclists in the country. This is the Coffee Cut.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Coffee Cut, where we ask the hard questions. Well, today with me is the Deputy RCC of Rubaga Central, who's going to be talking to us about the amendment of the borders. This is a directive that came from KCCA, and it's been lingering on many people's minds. So to start it off, so the main question, the main reason, why are you pushing for borders to relocate from the city center?
I think the need is based on the challenges we have and the claims we have from the public, whereby so many cases ranging from crime have been reported, inconsiderate uses on the road have been reported and seen, and this affects literally everyone using the road, whether a pedestrian, with the fellow motorists, cyclists, anyone using the road. We have seen murder cases, we have seen robberies, and at the end of it all, it goes back to border. But yet, border and private use and institutional use are all different.
Yeah.
Border is a public transport. As we speak now, it is said that every motorcycle in the ranges of a Bajaj or even those others are all borders, which is not true. So the essence here is to restore order, but also now that it has become a nuisance that everyone parks anywhere they want, they pick from even in the middle of the road, something that has attracted accidents. So there are so many inspirations to this thing. It is not just, and for purposes of correction, this engagement was directed to us by the National Security Council. And it made recommendations. Whatever we are putting into force is a recommendation of the National Security Council. And it was also forwarded to the Minister of Works and Transport, General Katumba Wamala, who has since convened so many engagements with stakeholders, different stakeholders. And for us, we come at the tail part of it to implement what has been decided on by our superior authorities.
Okay, so how do you plan to streamline this? Do you have like measures in place that you've set up this to make sure that it works?
Actually, these measures are existing. It's just that we've not implemented. We all know that borders have stages, or must have stages, where they park and wait, or where their customers find them. So we are reversing it back, that now it goes back as opposed to finding you where you are, finding you anywhere. So we want also to encourage that a passenger can move from their area of work or residence or whatever it is and go to a nearby stage. Actually, we are even moving that these stages are put on a GPS. They are given, I think they are called geographical information systems, whereby you can even Google from where you are the nearest border stage, and it comes. We are reversing that. Really, someone who is going to carry a passenger should have gone through a riding or driving session for you to study what is it that happens on the road, for you to learn the communications on the road, because everything has its own communication. If you have ever seen some of them, they have started their own signs. They no longer use indicators. They no longer use, they go one way, and they have made it formal. Actually now, to stop anyone using a one way is an abuse. Okay. You are taken to be like the criminal yourself if you are stopping someone using a one way. So it has become a norm, it has become a discipline, it has become part of us that anyone can do it. So we are saying, no, go back and use the form, the normal structures of road usage. Some no longer stop at traffic lights. You find like they are doing the opposite of the signals. Some no longer care how many people they carry for as long as they can squeeze, and all of it there. You find one taking about 4 people. And to me, that also alters the capacity this motorcycle was given. So these are not new measures. We are trying to enforce order. We are trying to make sure that whatever it was in the start becomes the culture again. So the enforcement is aimed at limiting crimes, limiting those who are not compliant with the law.
Yeah.
And also anyone wakes up, buys or learns how to ride a motorcycle, and they're on the road. And this has seen more accidents happening. You can't have more than 50% of accidents in this country happening just because of the borders.
So I understand, sorry to interject, I understand that the plan is to register 4,000 borders in the city. And I think this is a plan to decongest them.
Partly, yes.
Yeah, to decongest the city and to make it beautiful, which I agree, by the way, because I think we have a lot of accidents in the city because of the many borders. But looking at registering, I'm wondering the process, because they are supposed to attain a certain training where they have to pay 60,000. Yes. And the reason I'm asking this is because I've interacted with some of them. So they are of view that they have had similar trainings in the past, but they didn't have to pay that much. So
they paid how much?
They were free. The training was free. So
no, that is not true. It is not true. Why? Well, for one to be a border going forward, a border rider, you have to register and you have to get your biodata, because you're transporting so many people, whereby we must trust you that you are the right person. And after getting your biodata, then you are registered on a stage which is recognized by local authorities, including local councils. Then you are forwarded to your division offices for recommendation to go to a training. The training is, because now when we identified UDISA, it was with them, and it was the cheapest. Because as of now, if you go to any clinic to get a certificate, a health certificate, it would require you not less than 50,000. And depending to where you are going, some are not competent. So
does that mean that they have been having it has been free?
Yes,
or they have been
those
paying?
who are saying that, those are new in the sector, who don't know how it operates, who don't have any requirement, but they are in the sector by the virtue of either owning a motorcycle or knowing how to ride. But also getting a recommendation to the IOV, the inspector of vehicles, for you to go and get a permit. You need less than 200 for you to be taken through that session of almost a full week, until you are conversant, you have been tested, you know the signs on the road, you can interpret them by yourself. It takes you more than 200,000 for a rider. So that is already about 250,000. And leave alone the processes, because everyone you are getting from these certificates is at their different locations. The timing card, the resources used, the resources paid, you are going to find yourself that you can get this at not less than 300,000. But if there has been a negotiation to cut it down to about 60,000 from about 300,000, I don't think whoever says that is fair. Is being unfair to say that that money is too much. And in any case, it is to their benefit.
60,000 might be a lot for a certain border man.
No, you say border is a business. It is not charity. It's not charity, it is business. It is you like here coming and you say that you're going to take an interview using a phone.
All right.
You're not doing charity, you're doing business. So I don't think we are going to sympathize with the certain calls for excuses. In my view, that is an excuse.
Okay, before we even go to the other question, when is the effective date for those people that are not registered in the city? When are they supposed to vacate?
Those who have registered, we are now in the process of recognizing them, because there are processes we are taking. And these processes range from recognizing those who have complied, but also further sensitization. There are those who are now coming up to join, because it is becoming serious, but also it is a process. So implementation is already on, because the 6 months elapsed on 1st July. We are 11 days
late
into implementation. No, we are not late, we are moving. Just that for you, I used that implementation of things is supposed to be forceful, police, fighting. No, we are doing our things differently, and I think we are registering some good success. Enforcement will come, force will come, arrests will be made, some motorcycles will be parked, but they will go into phases. They will not happen all at once, because this process is gradual. It is not a one-day thing. It will take us quite a lot of time, but it also must remain in existence. So we are in the same way creating and building structures that will stay. That going forward, no one will just come and start riding, but they will have to follow the processes. We are also coming up with the regulations. We have regulations we are going to make to KCCA to add in the amendments. But in the meantime, we are using different measures, different aspects of the law to put this into service, and I think it will work out.
Okay, you mentioned of regulations. Which are some of those regulations, if you want to share?
Some regulations include introducing very, very hefty penalties for offenders. But also we are looking at organizing this sector into a national body, whereby they benchmark from one another. They have their own structures of leadership and how leadership comes into existence, incorporating this into the traffic and the traffic road safety amendments that are already in existence. So we are trying to incorporate, but there is no way we can incorporate without anything existing. You know that all laws come to manage what is existing. There are very few laws that come to manage what is yet to happen, because that law must be based on informed decisions, informed realities, and also to curtail on certain inconsistencies or injustices in that sector. So as of now, the regulations are coming. We shall need a minimum number in the city. That is for a fact. And we shall need to restrict, riders from Wakiso operating in Kampala, riders from Mukono operating in Kampala, and in the same way riders in Kampala operating in other areas. Because we want to limit the scope of any rider, not to do it aimlessly, but to remain within the proximity for which one can be monitored.
Okay. Could you tell us why the previous restrictions have failed? Because I'm sure you've made several attempts to register these people to decongest the borders, but could you tell us why they have failed in the past?
I have not been part of those, but luckily maybe I think it has been lack of coordination with the stakeholders, of which at least now we have about 70% of the stakeholders on board.
Okay.
And some of those who are not on board, they are off deliberately, some for political reasons, some for lack of commitment to this, because they are far away from reality and they are not affected in one way or the other. So some are just lazy to participate. So those who are not on board follow under those categories of political, of laziness, or lack of commitment. Okay,
thank you. So where is the comprehensive transport master plan for Kampala and how does it operate?
KCC is, as we speak now, even some of its officials are outside the country. They are trying to benchmark. And you have seen, because the president's idea was that we don't go and procure, take so much money to go and buy buses in China or elsewhere in the world and bring them. We can make our own buses, or we can make our own system. So Kayola, which is under construction, the first phase of the bus is out and now on a road test. There are different bus companies have procured some. Some have been given to the tourism sector because of the distances, to see if they can detect some few things before the mass production begins. But also the Kira Motors, which is rightly going to be our producer, is in the process of completing its plant, which will boost its capacity to produce a number that can satisfy the demand. So the master plan will largely hinge on the bus production in Uganda, as opposed to procuring from outside the country.
Okay. So in regards to, we all know fuel prices are hitting the rock. And borders are the efficient means of transport. Everyone would want to use a border if they're running late to their preferred destinations. So how do you think this is going to affect the business if you decongest the
I think we are not going to use temporary measures to make permanent decisions.
Okay.
And if we take that route, we are going to make so many mistakes.
Okay.
And these situations we are going through are situations that I am sure won't last for a very long time. And with the time, everything will be in place and in their rightful positions and operations. So I don't think we should base our decisions on emotions or in the challenges we are facing now and say that is how it is going to be forever. No.
You mentioned of hefty prices for these guys.
Penalties.
Yeah, penalties, yes. Can you highlight some of them you have in place? Because I was down there I was at some border station, I think last week, and these people are adamant. They are saying no one will move them from the city. They know why they have been there for 10 years, so whatever training you guys are putting, they have to pay money, they want to pay money.
It is okay. You see, we are all adults. And we all know that once something has been decided on unanimously, not if you can fail it.
Okay.
And I think it is at the time that they will get affected that they will realize that actually they can get out or they can get off. And I don't think they should actually call for that. They should call for the tough measures, yet they can use this window of convenience to meet the required targets or standards that everyone wants. By the way, this is not a government initiative, partly. The biggest affected person are the public, because it's the public that interacts with this sector on a daily. So let no one think that this is it's government that is affected largely. No, it is public. But when the public is affected, government gets the setback of the result. It's the resultant force that comes back to government.
Thank you so much for allowing to speak to us, and it's a pleasure. I hope there will be a next time for us to interact more.
Always.
Be sure to watch us next time on the next episode of Coffee Court. My name is Rona Nahabwe. Till next time.
All right, we've got 9 minutes to the top of the hour, and we are definitely saying goodbye from us to you. We've been coming to you live from Plot 42 Nile Avenue. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Buyinza on sign language, and you can as well follow more of our details on our YouTube channel, Smart24 TV, and you can definitely catch up from there as well. We're on DSTV channel 372 and then GoTV channel 394. Now there is a business quote coming in from Tony Hisha, who is the CEO of Zappos. He says, chase the vision, not the money. The money will end up following you. So if at all you're a young lad out there, chase that vision that you have, chase that goal that you're trying so hard to pursue, and you will definitely see that the money will be following you. And I can tell you that I'm doing exactly that same thing. Have a blessed night. Good evening.
Smart 20